Recording in progress.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Sukha Vacha Evam Bruvanam Maitrayam Dvapayana Suto Buddhaha Prinayan Eva Bharatya Vidura Pratyabhashyata.
Translation. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, O king, while Maitreya, the great sage, was thus speaking, Vidura, the learned son of Vyapinavas, expressed a request in a pleasing manner by asking this question.
Vidura Vacha Brahman Katham Bhagavatas Chinmaitrasya Vikarinaha Leelaya Chapi Yugyeran Nirgunasya Gunakriyaha.
Sri Vidura said, O great Brahman, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete spiritual whole and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature?
Text 3. Kridayam udyamor rubashya kamaschikrидishanyata swastastriptasya cha katham nivritasya sadanyataha.
Boys are enthusiastic to play with other boys or with various diversions because they are encouraged by desire. But there is no possibility of such desire for the Lord because he is self-satisfied and detached from everything at all times.
Text 4. Ashakadsid Bhagavan Vishwam Gunamayat Mamayaya Taya Samstapatyati Etad Bhuya Pratyapidashyati.
By his self-centered potency of the three modes of material nature, the Lord has caused the creation of his universe. By her, he maintains the creation and conversely dissolves it again and again.
Text 5. Deshata kalato yosva avishtata swato nayata avilupta vyabhutatma sayuyatta jaya katham.
The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. How does he become engaged in besides?
Take 6. Bhagavaneka avesha sarvashetrashva avishtita amushya durbhagatvam va klesho va karma bhikutaha.
The Lord, as the Supersoul, is situated in every living being's heart. Why then do the living entities, activities, result in misfortune and misery?
Text 7. Itasmin me mano vidvan khidyat jnana sankate tanna paranatu vibhu kashmalam manasham mahat.
O great and learned one, my mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of these near thoughts, and I therefore request you to clear it up.
Text 8. श्रीसुक उवाच स इत्थं कुचोदिता शत्रा तत्त्वजिज्ञासुना मुनिः प्रत्यहा भगवच्चित्ता संस्मयन् इव गतस्मया.
Sri Dev Goswami said, O King, my being thus agitated by the implicity Vidura, at first seemed astonished, but then he replied to him without hesitation, since he is fully God conscious.
Text 9. Mitra uvacha sayam bhagavato maya yannaye Mitra uvacha sayam bhagavato maya yannayena virudyate ishvarasya vimuktasya karpanyam uttabandhanam.
Shimitra said,
Hare Krishna. Mataji, your voice is echoing a lot. Do you have more? Yes. Do you have more than one CD?
Sorry?
Do you have more than one device in the room?
No, I've got no other device on.
Okay, it's echoing a lot. Clear.
I can hear it clearly. I'm not sure about everyone else.
Oh, is that better?
It is echoing. It is echoing.
Oh, I don't know what to do.
You should just carry on.
Are we on verse 9 here?
Text.
Yeah. Maitreya said, certain conditioned souls put forward the theory that the Supreme Brahman, or the personality of Godhead, is overcome by illusion or Maya, and at that same time they maintain that he is unconditioned. This is against all logic.
Text 10. Yad atena vinamushya pumsa atma viparyaya pratyata upadrashtu swashiraschedanaadikaha.
The living entity is described regarding his self-identity. He has no factual background, like a barefoot tree that will feel his leg cut off.
Text 11. Yatha jala chandramashaha kampadistat krato gunaha drishyate sanapi drashtur atmano natmano gunaha.
As the moon reflected on the water appears to the seer to travel, due to being associated with the quality of the water, so the self associated with matter appears to be qualified as matter.
Text 12. Save nivriti dharmena vasudeva nukampaya bhagavat bhakti yogena tirudhate sanariha.
But that misconception of self-identity can be diminished gradually by the mercy of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, through the process of devotional service to the Lord in the mode of detachment.
Text 13. Yadandriyo paramotha drashtratmani pareharo viliyante tada klesha samsuptasyeva kritsnasa.
When the senses are satisfied in the seer supersoul, the personality of Godhead and merging all fixes are completely vanquished, as after a sound sleep.
Text 14. अशेषा शङ्कलेशसमन्वितते गुणानुवादश्रवणं मुरारेः किं वा पुनस्तच्चरन्नरविन्दे परगासेवरतिरात्मलब्धा.
Simply by chanting and hearing of the transcendental name, form, etc., of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one can achieve the possession of unlimited rebirth conditions. Therefore, what to speak of those who have attained attraction from serving the flavor of the dust of the Lord's lotus feet.
Text 15. Vidura uvacha sanchina samsayo mayam tava shuktasina vipo ubhyartrapi bhagavan mano me sampradavati.
Vidura said, O powerful sage, my Lord, all my doubts about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the living entities have now been removed by your convincing words. My mind is now perfectly entered into them.
Hare Krishna, Bharati Mataji. If you have, it's very echoing. If you have two devices on, can you put one on, please?
Okay, I think because I'm reading from my iPad, is that why?
I'm not sure because it's very, very echoing.
Oh, shall I switch my Zoom on in my iPad then?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Shall I read text 16 in the meantime? Sadva etad vyaratam vidvan natma mayayanam haraha abhyati apartham nirmulam vishwamulam nayadbahi.
Sorry, I'm still joining in.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm struggling to join in. Yeah. Can I just read from the phone today? I'm so sorry.
Okay, can I carry on until...
Yes, you can read from your phone.
Okay. Oh, learned sage, your explanations are very good, as they should be. Disturbance to the conditioned soul have no other basis than the movement of the external energy of the Lord. Is that better?
Text 17. Yascha muda tamo loke yascha buddhe param gataha tav ubo sukham edete klishyati antarito janaha.
Both the lowest of the fools and he who is transcendental to the all intelligence enjoy happiness, whereas the persons between them suffer the material pangs.
Text 18. Arthabhavam vinashchitya pratitasya pinatmanaha tam cha piyushmak charane sevayam parannude.
But my dear sir, I am obliged to you because now I can understand that this material manifestation is without substance. Although it appears real, I am confident that by serving your feet, it will be possible for me to give up the false idea.
Text 19. यत्सेवाय भगवता कुटस्थस्य मधुद्विषः रतिरासो भवेत् तीव्रः पादयोर्व्यासनर्दनः.
By serving the feet of the spiritual master, one is enabled to develop transcendental ecstasy in the service of the personality of Godhead, who is the unchangeable enemy of the Madhudiman, and whose service vanquishes one's material distresses.
Text 20. Durapahiyalpatapassaha seva vaikuntavatmasu yatrapajiyate nityam deva devo janatana.
Persons whose austerity is mere can hardly obtain the service of the pure devotee who are progressing on the path of back to the kingdom of Godhead, the Vaikuntha. Pure devotees engage 100% in glorifying the Supreme Lord, who is the Lord of all the demigods and the controller of all living entities.
Text 21. Shrishtvagre mahad adini savikarani Debhyo virajyam udratya tam anupravishad vipuha.
After creating the total material energy, the Mahatattva, and thereby manifesting the gigantic universal form with senses and sense organs, the Supreme Lord entered within it. Hare Krishna, thank you. Apologies from me, I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. That special echo effect. We need that. Bhagavatam is not easy to understand. That was nice. Thank you. Okay, so sharing my screen. So we will be discussing from verse 8 until 11. So Canto 3, Chapter 7. So we'll have verse number 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 verses. So there's a lot to cover today. So, chant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashcha Prayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. This also chant the Mangala Sharanas. We have a lot to read today. Om Ajnana Tirumandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilakam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dharati Swapadantam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajyatam Sakarana Gunatham Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakarana Shri Vishakhanitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kamtara Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Shabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Devi Vanchat Kripatu Vishya Kripa Sindhu Deva Chapatita Nam Pavane Vaishnavi Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatadishtamine. Hare Krishna. So we are from reciting verse number 8. Short talk to this one, we can read it. श्रीशुक उवाच साइत्थं चोदितक्षत्रा तत्त्वजिज्ञासुना मुनिः प्रत्यवाय भगवच्चित्तः स्मयन्नीव गतस्मयः. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, O King Maitreya, being thus agitated by the inquisitive Vidur, at first seemed astonished, but then he replied to him without hesitation, since he was fully God conscious. Purport. Since the great sage Maitreya was filled with God consciousness, he had no reason to be astonished at such contradictory question by Vidur. Therefore, although as a devotee he externally expressed surprise, as if he did not know how to reply to those questions, he immediately became perfectly settled and properly replied to Vidur. Yasmin Vidnate Sarvam Evam Vidnatam Bhavati. Mundaka Upanishad 1.3. Anyone who is a devotee of the Lord knows about the Lord to some extent, and devotional service to the Lord makes him able to know everything by the grace of the Lord. Although devotee may apparently express himself to be ignorant, he is full of knowledge in every intricate matter. So, just to set the background, Vidura asked some questions to Maitreya Rishi. So we just go through those questions a bit, just to bring our mind back. So what did he ask? So that's text number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Quickly we'll read through. He's asked the first question: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the complete spiritual whole and unchangeable. Then how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature? So this is interesting question. This is what they said in the 8th verse. It's like contradictory questions, like Lord is unchangeable, and then how is he connected with the material mode? So he said Lord is creating the material, world, and he's also destroying, dissolving. So, but he is beyond it, and he is unchangeable. The material world is changeable. So how is that possible? That the two, spiritual and matter combined. How can a spiritual Supreme Personality of Godhead, fully spiritual, connect with the material? And then if you say if this is pastime, how can the activities of unchangeable take place and exhibit modes of nature? The 3 modes of material nature, which is, Rajas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. How these 2 things can happen. Then he goes on to give an example. It says boys are enthusiastic play with other boys or with various diversions because they are encouraged by desire. So the boys have desire to play. The Lord has no such desire. Lord is self-satisfied. He has no karma. He's self-satisfied, detached. He is not. If he is self-satisfied, there's no question of him having a desire. And how does this work then? They say by his self-sheltered potency of the 3 modes of nature, the Lord has caused the creation of this universe. By her, he maintains the creation and conversely dissolves it again and again. Then he moves on to the second question. That's the question about the Lord. Then he asks the question about the living entity. The pure soul, the soul is also pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situation, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in his sense? So someone can get confused. There's avasthita, circumstances, different places that he's not aware of. Time can make someone, forget their knowledge. Situation may arise, or they may be in a dream, or maybe other situation. That's all understood. But then he is never out of consciousness. How does he become engaged in actions? Then he says again, the Lord is, as the super soul is situated in everyone's heart. Why then do the living entities' activities result in misfortune and misery? And he says these questions are greatly O great and learned one, my mind is greatly illusioned by the distress of these nations, and I therefore request you to clear it up. This is the very deep questions. Not many people would ask this question, or some people will ask, people who are like impersonal, they ask this question, but then they separate the two completely. This is like soul is different, the Maya is different, that the material world is not real. Thus, there's no further, question required of the intermingling of the two. But this is Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is trying to answer all these complicated questions, intricate questions. So Maitreya Rishi first, he smiles, says, Smayan Gatasmaya. First, he is astonished, has also smiled in the question that Vidura has asked. But then he meditates on the Lord. Yeah? He is Bhagavad Chitta. He becomes God conscious. And by the grace of the God, by the grace of the Supreme, he can then get the knowledge to answer this question. Prabhupada says, anyone who is a devotee of the Lord knows about the Lord to some extent. And devotional service to the Lord makes him able to know everything by the grace of the Lord. Bhakti amam abhijanati yavan yachasme tatpatah, Bhagavad Gita verse. Only by bhakti one can understand. Also, Krishna says, which is the verse which says, Maya is Duratya. You cannot understand. The only way to understand Maya is to surrender unto him. Mama Maya Duratya. Gunayesha. Although a devotee may apparently express himself to be ignorant, he is full of knowledge in every intricate matter. The devotee has the knowledge because he is blessed by the Lord. He is given knowledge by the Lord within his heart. So the ignorance is destroyed. Aham Ajnana. Maitreya Uvacha, 9th verse. Seyam Bhagavato Maya Yanyena Virudyate Ishwarasya Vimuktasya Karpanyam Utabandhanam. Translation. Sri Maitreya said, certain conditioned souls put forward the theory that the Supreme Brahman, so he's now answering the first question. Certain conditioned soul put forward the theory that the Supreme Brahman or the personality of Godhead is overcome by illusion or Maya, and at the same time they maintain that he is unconditioned. This is against logic. So he's just answering that question, that the question itself is not right. Yeah, so he says if he's overcome by Maya, and they say that he's conditioned, he's unconditioned. So those two things cannot be true. So it is only by Maya that we can think like that. So purport is long, I think, but it will be very helpful to read through because it's a difficult topic. Maybe we can all try to understand this. Would someone like to read this? Maybe we can take para if it is too long. Any volunteers?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Madhuri.
Sometimes it appears that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is 100% spiritual, cannot be the cause of the illusory potency, which covers the knowledge of the individual soul. But factually, there is no doubt that the illusory external energy is also part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. When Vyasadeva realized the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he saw the Lord along with his external potency, which covers the pure knowledge of the individual living entities. Why the external energy acts in this way may be considered as follows. As analyzed by great commentators like Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Jiva Goswami, although the material illusionary energy is distinct from the spiritual energy, it is one of the many energies of the Lord, and thus the material modes of nature the mode of goodness, etc., are surely qualities of the Lord. The energy and the energetic personality of Godhead are not different. And although such energy is one with the Lord, he is never overpowered by it. Although the living entities are also parts and parcels of the Lord, they are overcome by the material energy. The inconvincible yogam Ishwaram of the Lord, as mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 9.5, is misunderstood by the froggish philosophers. In order to support a theory that Narayana, the Lord himself, becomes a Daridra Narayana, a poor man, they propose that the material energy overcomes the Supreme Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami and Srila Viswanatha Chakravarti Thakura, however, offer a very nice example in explanation. They say that although the sun is all light, the clouds, darkness, and snowfall are all part and parcel of the sun. Without the sun, there is no possibility of the skies being overcast with clouds or darkness, nor can there be snowfall on the earth. Although life is sustained by the sun, life is also disturbed by darkness and snowfall produced by the sun. But it is also a fact that the sun itself is never overcome by darkness, clouds, or snowfall. The sun is far, far away from such disturbances. Only those who have a poor fund of knowledge say that the sun is covered by a cloud or by darkness. Similarly, the Supreme Brahman or the Parabrahman, the personality of Godhead, is always unaffected by the influence of the material energy, although it is one of his energies. Parasya Sakti Vividhaiva Sruyate.
Thank you. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this is amazing example given by our acharyas. The Maya, Devi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Durate. So Maya cannot be understood by logic. This is the problem that happens in the most of the logician philosophers who try to somehow crack it by logic. They cannot do it. That's what Mahaprabhu explained this as Achintya Bhedave. But this is such a beautiful example for us to understand. The sun is all light, but only through the sun the clouds are created. How is that created? Because sun evaporates the water turns into the cloud. So it's ultimately sun which is creating it. Sun is also, the absence of sun is the darkness, and similarly snowfall also is created by the sun. All part and parcel of the sun. Without the sun, there is no possibility of sky being overcast with clouds or darkness. So it seems like the sun is covered by the cloud, or now it's dark, so we can't see. Yeah, but without the sun, it is not possible to even get these. That means, and sun at the same time is separate from it. Never can be covered. It's also fine. Sun itself is never overcome by darkness, clouds. Sun is far, far away from such disturbances. This is an example that's given to understand how Lord is. That also is quoted in the 9.5. Lord is within, not so everything is within the Lord, but Lord is not within everything. The next para. There is no reason to assert that the Supreme Brahman is overpowered by the illusory energy. The clouds, darkness, and snowfall can only cover a very insignificant portion of the sun's rays. Similarly, the modes of material nature may react upon the ray like living entities. So this is interesting. So how the living entities are described here. So they are described as the ray of the sun is the Supreme Lord. Then living entities are like rays. So they are one and different at the same time. So sun rays cannot be different from the sun. But at the same time, sun rays are not sun. This is how Acharyas explain living entities or jivas. Beautiful example. This is how we can, because it is said that with the words, this transcendental knowledge it cannot be explained. But the Acharyas make it so simple for us that we can relate to. We cannot otherwise relate to the whole thing. because this knowledge can only be realized, as they say. But these analogies, these simple examples, can give us the perspective. So it is the misfortune of the living entity, certainly not without reason, that the influence of the material energy acts on his pure consciousness and eternal bliss. This covering up of pure consciousness and eternal bliss is due to avidya karma sangya, the energy which acts on the infinitesimal living entities who misuse their minute independence. So how does the two types of avidyas, one is like covering up, another is throwing. So people who are in ignorance, their consciousness is fully covered by Maya. And some who try to understand, they are thrown away by Maya. So according to Vishnu Puran, Bhagavad Gita, and all other Vedic literature, the living entities are generated from the Tathastha energy of the Lord. And thus they are always the energy of the Lord and not the energetic. So Lord is the supreme energetic. So we are the aparaya mitastonya. So the two types of para and apara energy of the Lord. So the jivas are the apara energy. The living entities are like the sun's rays. Although, as explained above, there is no qualitative difference between the sun and its rays. The sun's rays are sometimes overpowered by another energy of the sun, namely by clouds or by sunfall. Similarly, although the living entities are qualitatively one with the superior energy of the Lord, they have the tendency to be overpowered by the inferior material energy. In the Vedic hymns, it is said that the living entities are like the sparks of a fire. The sparks of fire also are fire, but the burning potency of the spark is different from that of the original fire. When the sparks fly out of the touch with the original fire, they come under the influence of a non-fiery atmosphere. Thus, they maintain the potency to be again one with the fire as sparks, but not as the original fire. The sparks can everlastingly remain within the original fire as it parts and parcel, but the moment the sparks become separated from the original fire, their misfortunes and miseries begin. He's answering the second question also. The clear conclusion is that the Supreme Lord, who is the original fire, is never overpowered, but the infinitesimal sparks of the fire can become overpowered by the illusory effects of Maya. It is the most ludicrous argument to say that the Supreme Lord is overpowered by his own material energy. This is not even logical. What some of the Mayavadis say, when the Lord comes in this world, he also becomes overpowered by the Maya. The Lord can be overpowered by Maya, then Maya becomes the Lord, then, isn't it? So this is the illogical argument they always give. The Lord is covered. The Lord is the master of the material energy, but the living entities are in the conditioned state, controlled by the material energy. That is the version of Bhagavad Gita, the froggish philosophers. Prabhupada used this word froggish a lot of time. Sorry, I'm just checking the time. I'm just conscious how long. Yeah, 20 minutes. So we will finish by 8:45. So we have a few. So, but froggish philosopher Prabhupada used often because there was this, good to understand this concept. The frog, there's one frog, who lives in the well, and somehow or the other, a frog from ocean falls into the well, and then they're talking, and the one with the frog who lived in the well all his life, asking the other frog, how big is the ocean? Yeah, how is it? Double the size of this well? 3 times the size of this well? 4 times? How big? So how do you explain? Other frog cannot explain this. These are the froggish philosophers who explains. Who put forward the argument that the Supreme Lord is overpowered by the material mode of goodness, are themselves illusioned by the same material energy, although they think of themselves as liberated souls. This is the problem. So they are themselves conditioned, illusion, and they are trying to understand, which is beyond the modes. So they support the argument by a false and laborious jugglery of words, which is a gift of the same illusory energy of the Lord. But the poor, froggish philosophers, due to a false sense of knowledge, cannot understand the situation. In the 6th canto, 9th chapter, 34th verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated, read the verse. Thus the demigod prayed to the Supreme Lord that although his activities are very difficult to understand, they can still be understood to some extent by those who sincerely engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The demigods admitted that although the Lord is apart from the material influence of creation, he nevertheless creates, maintains, and annihilates the complete cosmic manifestation by the agency of the demigods. Next one. 10. Yad arthena vinamushya pumsa atma uparyaya pratiyata upadrashtuhu swashiras chedanadikaha. Translation. The living entity is in distress regarding his self-identity. He has no factual background, like a man who dreams that he sees his head cut off. Now, this is interesting, another analogy. Someone can dream and they see their head is cut off. It's like contradictory again. If the head is cut off, how can you see? But they're seeing. Okay, so a teacher in school once threatened his pupil. A teacher in school once threatened his pupil that he would cut off the pupil's head and hang it on the wall so that the child could see how his head had been cut off. The child became frightened and stopped his mischief. Similarly, miseries of the pure soul and the disruption of his self-identification are managed by the external energy of the Lord, which controls those mischievous living entities who want to go against the will of the Lord. So how the jivas are put in illusion, or the mischievous ones, people in all of us here, mischievous ones. So actually there is no bondage or misery for the living entity, nor does he ever lose his pure knowledge. In his pure consciousness, when he thinks a little seriously about his position, he can understand that he is eternally subordinate to the mercy of the Supreme, and that his attempt to become one with the Supreme Lord is a false illusion. Prabhupada says very simply, it's just a little seriously, if think about our own situation, our position, how we are suffering in this material world, then our illusion of being one with the Lord will automatically go away. Life after life, the living entity falsely tries to lord it over material nature and become the lord of the material world, but there is no tangible result. Life after life, we're all trying to lord over. But unfortunately, the end is not tangible. You have to start all over again. And how many years a living entity can live? 80, maybe 100 years. After 60, most of the people are furniture. But then, once the body is gone, all the wealth is gone, no matter who one is, whether he has set the rockets, spaceships in the Mars or all the other planets, or created the most complicated cars, invented anything. Once the body is gone, you have to come back, start the whole thing again, go to the reception, year one, ABC. You have to start all over again. Okay, this is the difficulty. These activities are performed under the dictation of the illusory energy. The experience is compared to the experience of once having his head cut off in a dream. The man whose head has been cut off also sees that his head has been cut off. If a person's head is severed, he loses his power to see. Therefore, if a man sees that his head has been cut off, it means that he thinks that, like that in hallucination, it has to be hallucination to think or see that his head is cut off. Similarly, a living entity is eternally subordinate to the Supreme Lord, and he has this knowledge with him, but artificially he thinks that he's God himself, and that although he's God, he has lost his knowledge due to Maya. This is the Mayavadi argument. They think that we are God, yeah. And this is my Leela. This conception has no meaning, just as there is no meaning to seeing one's head cut off. This is the process by which knowledge is covered. This is the point that Prabhupada is trying to make. This knowledge is covered by Maya potency. And because this artificial rebellious condition of a living entity gives him all troubles, it is to be understood that he should take to his normal life as the devotee of the Lord and be relieved from the misconception of being God. The so-called liberation of thinking oneself God is the last reaction of avidya by which the living entity is entrapped. The conclusion is that a living entity deprived of eternal transcendental service to the Lord becomes illusioned in many ways. Even in his conditional life, he is the eternal servant of the Lord. How is the eternal servant in the conditional life also serving the Lord's energy, Maya Devi? So he is always servant. His servitude under the spell of illusory Maya is also a manifestation of his eternal condition of service. Because he is rebelled against the service of the Lord, he is therefore put in the service of the Maya. He is still serving, but in a perverted manner. And he wants to get out of service under material bondage. He next desires to become one with the Lord. So he gets progressed from one illusion to the other illusion. This is another illusion. The best course, therefore, is to surrender unto the Lord and thus get rid of the illusory Maya for good, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Devesha Gunamayi, Mama Maya Durataya, Mam Evaya Prapadyante, Maya Etam Tarantite. This Lord is, Maya is the Lord's energy. The only way we can get out of this Maya is by surrendering unto the Lord. So it's a simple formula Krishna is giving. And then last verse, it's not there. He explains says how many analogies is given in Bhagavatam to make it easier for us. Another good nice analogy. Yatha jale chandramasa kampadistat krito gunaha tishyante sanabidrashtur atmano anatmano gunaha atmano anatmano gunaha. Translation. As the moon reflected on the water appears to the seer to tremble due to being associated with the quality of the water, so the self associated with the matter appears to be qualified as matter. Just like moon reflected on the water appears to the seer to tremble. Although the moon is not trembling, the water is trembling. I feel like the moon is trembling. Similarly, self-associated with matter appears to be qualified as matter. So the association of matter, the self becomes invisible. Yeah, so it appears like it's all matter. So for us also, it's difficult to. Prabhupada, in so many of his lectures, always say, reminds us in our body and the soul. It's not that we are body and we have a soul. We are soul and we are covered by this body. But this covering is so hard and it's difficult for us to understand. There's never a time when we are actually, beyond this concept of body or understanding we are not this body. The Supreme Soul, the personality of God, is compared to the moon in the sky, and the living entities are compared to the reflection of the moon on water. The moon in the sky is fixed and does not appear to quiver like the moon on the water. Actually, like the original moon in the sky, the moon reflected on the water should also not quiver. But because of being associated with water, the reflection appears to be quivering, although in actual fact the moon is fixed. The water moves, but the moon does not move. Similarly, the living entities appear to be tainted by material qualities like illusion, lamentation, and miseries, although in the pure soul such qualities are completely absent. So the material conditioning is illusion and lamentation and misery. The word pratiyate, which means apparently and not actually, it feels like pratiyate, it feels like, it's not actually. Like the experience of having one's head cut off in a dream is significant here. The reflection of the moon on the water is the separated rays of the moon and not the actual moon. The separated parts and parcels of the Lord entangled in the water of material existence have the quivering quality, whereas the Lord is like the actual moon in the sky, which is not at all in touch with the water. The light of the sun and moon reflected on matter makes the matter bright and praiseworthy. I'll read that again. The light of the sun and moon reflected on matter makes the matter bright and praiseworthy. The living entity's symptoms are compared to the light of the sun and moon illuminating material manifestations like trees and mountains. The reflection of the sun or moon is accepted as the real sun or moon by less intelligent men. And the pure monastic philosophy develops from these ideas. In fact, the light of the sun and the moon are actually different from the sun and moon themselves, although they're always connected. The light of the moon spread throughout the sky appears to be impersonal, but the moon planet as it is personal. And the living entities on the moon planet are also personal. In the rays of the moon, different material entities appear to be comparatively more or less important. The light of the moon on the Taj Mahal appears to be more beautiful than the same light in the wilderness. It's amazing. Prabhupada using Taj Mahal. Yeah, it looks very, very brilliant. When it is a full moon, see that the Taj Mahal looks very brilliant. But in the wilderness, it does not. All the light of the moon is the same everywhere due to being differently appreciated, appears different. Similarly, the light of the Lord is equally distributed everywhere, but due to being differently received, it appears to be different. One should not, therefore, accept the reflection of the moon on the water as actual and misunderstand the whole situation through monastic philosophy. The quivering quality of moon is also variable. When the water is standing still, there is no quivering. A more settled conditioned soul quivers less. But due to material connection, the quivering quality is more or less present everywhere. The best, Prabhupada is saying, the best is that it can quiver less, but it will be always there. That's our verse number 11. So now 38. So beautiful 3.5 verses, 8, 9, 10, 11. The two important questions that we were discussing before have been answered by Maitreya Rishi. So, I don't know what, do we do discussion? Do we have any comments, questions? And this probably will, it's good to read these purports again in our own time. It's a difficult topic, and the more of a realized knowledge, then we can read and maybe we can understand some analogies, but to actually realize the presence of Maya, because we are, whatever we are experiencing, education system or day-to-day life, everywhere, the best we can do is use our mind and come up with some logical answer to a question. That's how we work. But somehow this Paravidya, this knowledge of the Supreme Lord, and the spiritual knowledge is beyond the mind. So we have to depend on the mercy of the Lord. And the Lord is pleased with our services, with our sincerity. And if we have the right desires, maybe this will be revealed. And the revelation is finally only the same revelation that Prabhupada explained in the purport, that we are Lord's eternal servant. eternal servant. And that's where our happiness lies. This is the another illusion that is created by Maya. If we try to chase the happiness in the material world, and it always ends in frustration, no matter what. So it never gives the satisfaction of the heart. This is the we try to find the happiness, but there is no happiness there. We can only there may be temporary happiness with one situation or the other, but it doesn't last very long. So what really is soul we seeking is, and what we receive from Bhagavatam is a satisfaction of the heart. Yenatma suprasidati. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshali. Ahetuki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. By ahetuki, by unmotivated and uninterrupted devotional service, we can feel the satisfaction of the heart and the happiness. That's the message of Srimad Bhagavatam, ultimately. These questions of, very often these questions are asked everywhere. Everyone's asking. Recently, someone asking me the same question as, he's more from the Mayavadi background, but I said, okay, I can only tell you what we've read, but ultimately we have to realize, and realization only possible by serving. But this is the difficulty of Mayavadis, that they don't want to serve. And we may also have that tendency a little bit because, we're all trying to be God here. So only by service, Lord can be pleased and devotees can be pleased, and we get this as a blessing. So this is 8:42. Any further, anyone would like to share anything?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please can you accept my humble obeisances over the Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for nice explanation. Prabhuji, I have a question. It may not be in the class, but yes. Sometimes we see that some people, we cannot call them devotees because we don't know. They, I don't know if they're Mayavadis. I cannot qualify them as Mayavadis also. We see them that they're carrying their deities everywhere, mostly Gopals. They carry everywhere and they feed the deities wherever they go. They're carrying. But some devotees say that they are Sahajyas, right? And my question is, how can we say that somebody is a Sahajya when we see them carrying the deities, doing the service to the deities, feeding the deities, and doing all the seva? And they are all the time singing to the deities. And when they're sitting somewhere, they're making a space. That is for my Gopal, that is for Vishnu, that is for Krishna. And when they're sitting, the same thing is happening. So how do we know? Because in my circle here, there is one person. I had house programs. She brought her deities, she put them there. She's singing so nicely. And she's from Kurukshetra. But I don't know. And I try to talk a little bit, but I see that she's so staunch in her service that it's no use talking. So I just stopped. Where do we put the boundaries? That yes, she may be a rustic, as we know. There are so many great personalities in Vrindavan that they're not of this world, if you can say that. But how do you know that? I'm trying to figure that out since 2 weeks now. How do I know if she is Sahajya or she is rustic? Would you know anything in this line, probably, please?
How do you know someone is Sahajya or Rasik?
Yes. because I don't want to commit any offense. I don't want to commit any offense by saying that she is a Sahajya or she is. I don't want to say anything. It's just like on my mind all the time. So please. If you have an answer. If you don't have an answer, that's fine.
No. I think first of all, I think we can never say, these answers are never like objective, like this is how you identify someone is Sahajya or Rasik. So Prabhupada, there's a funny story. I don't think we are you going to do that. we can suggest doing that, but it's more about when there's a provocating situation, then you actually, it's revealed. Prabhupada's example was this happened in Vrindavan, and Vrindavan you can find lots of these sahajiyas. They come to the temple and they dance, with their hands raised, and they are just, shedding tears, and they just going in ecstasy and all that. So the devotees asked, what's this happening? Yeah, so Prabhupada said, maybe it's a funny thing. Maybe if you slap them, then he will know. And that's what happened. Then how the reaction is. The point that he was making is when a provocating situation comes, then what is the reaction of the person? Does that person become egoistic at that time, or that becomes humble? That person becomes humble, humility, because a devotee will always be humble in all situations. Devotees always think that he's less. He's never thinking to be more of anyone. So this sahajiya tendency is that how they act and how they carry themselves, it appears like, and we, to be honest, at the same time, I would suggest we don't judge. Better to not judge anyone, because best position for ourselves is that we want to be, chanting nicely. So amani na mandadena kirtaniya sada hari. We have to have the humility, and we have to respect everyone. And if that person is inspiring us to do something, then we have to stick to our teachings by Prabhupada, what has been taught by us. And we have a process. We have the whole, how we progress from one state to other state. Yeah. Our own Antanivritti and Nishtha and Ruchi, and we know where and how we are progressing. So if we get inspired by someone, we only take the best out of the people. But it is going beyond that. We know that we don't want to be sahajiya. So we know our own position rather than other people's position. And we stay with our own position. That's safer. That's why I've heard from others. But
Yes,
because
Prabhuji.
what will we gain by understanding whether the other person is a Rasika or a sahajiya? What will we gain?
No, Prabhuji, I know that. I know we'll not get anything. But since she just landed here in Victoria, and she just joined the circle. She's quite young, and she accepts whatever you tell her. But the thing that, like the prasad that we have already offered, I already offered, and then I gave her. I said, okay, you take home, because there was leftover. So I said, I gave everyone who was around, and she said, tomorrow, when I'm going to feed my Gopal, I said, no, you cannot, because it's already been offered and you have eaten from it. Then she said, it's okay, Mataji, Gopal is my son. When I sit to eat, I do this, so Gopal is eating this. So and then my daughter just silenced me from, like a sign, don't say anything, because we don't know her attachment to the deity. But
No.
in another way, she listens when you tell her about Bhagavad Gita, about Bhagavatam and everything. She listens. And then she sings nice bhajan. She's not going on the street to show people all this, because she came to my place. But this little bit of saying that tomorrow I'm going to feed my Gopal with that struck me a little bit. And I tried to explain. But slowly, I think, because, we are not here to correct people, as you said. We just want them to do things correctly, not to make an offense towards the Lord. And it's also an offense if we knowingly allow somebody to do something that is wrong. But she is very down to earth, never get angry, always smiling, and she's interested in what we are doing, checking my deities. This is the bed you made for your deities. This is what you offer. This is what you do. So she was very, very interested in all these things. So that's why I'm trying to figure out that, as you said, it doesn't matter who they are.
It's not uncommon, Mataji. It's very, very common. In India, it's so common that I meet so many people. My family, there's so many of them talk exactly like this,
Okay.
So it is not uncommon, this tendency.
Yeah.
Make it so.
Well,
The Sahajiya means to make it so cheap. And we know that. Someone who's sincerely trying, we know that it's not that cheap. Yeah, to have that, that relationship. I've already developed this relationship of what we have with the Lord is not established. Okay, day one, okay, I did my Gopal, and this I am the parent, and I'm in that
Mood.
mood.
That mood.
Yeah. Yeah, that bhav, this bhav, and this is how the bhav is created. This is not as simple as this. So this is a very common thing.
Okay. Okay. Because I have hardly seen that. I've seen it in Mayapur, in Jagannath where people are carrying the deities. But in my own experience, I have hardly seen things like that. Like maybe Janmashtami at the Mana, you can see 1-2 people bringing the deities, not many people. But I think devotees, they don't carry their deities.
Yeah, the key thing is, our emotions with the Lord, devotees would not normally reveal. That's one way to understand, We are ultimately, we are also offering the Lord, and we have full faith that the Lord is accepting our offering, right? We have faith. And but it's not something we go about, beating the drums.
Yeah, telling people what we do.
This is very internal. This is how our Acharyas explain that our relationship with the Lord has to be kept very internal. And
yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for having this conversation with me. I just wanted somebody like.
It's thin line. It's tricky. It's a very thin line. Better to be safe than just respect everyone. I think it's easier for us. Hare Krishna. Okay, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Indulekha Mata. Thank you so much, devotees, for being here. Hare Krishna, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vancha Kalpatarusya,
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Have a great week. Hare Krishna.